On today's episode of The Glue Guys, a couple of news nuggets.
Ooh.
Injuries,
Okay.
Draymond trade rumors,
Why would that be? Did something happen?
and Kevin Durant doesn't like babysitting. Anti-babysitting club, we'll talk about that. Plus, this is the annual Nets preseason players draft. Brian and I will draft our ultimate teams via the Nets roster. It's a real gangbanger of a show. Wait.
That stays. Here we go. Into the show.
Welcome back to The Glue Guys. This is Mike here. Say hello, Brian.
Hello.
Check us out on Twitter at BKGlueGuys, netsdaily.com, The Athletic. Get yourself on the paywall at theathletic.com/GlueGuys. A subsidiary of the New York Times Company, though we are not New York Times journalists.
Did you see it? You got a little pushback. Was there a memo, Mike, that you got?
I don't know if everyone's seen. There's like this big Washington Post story about the Athletic merging
and
with
you know
the
what?
New York Times.
It would come from the Post. Like it would, right?
And it was basically all about us. They didn't want to name us, but it was about how there's like people representing themselves as New York Times reporters when they're really Athletic reporters.
Smelts, as a Timesman,
really
can you speak to how real the beef is between the New York Times and the Washington Post? Is that something you're allowed to talk about?
I don't know. I literally don't. But I will say that the Times did do this pretty big story about the Post, about how all the Post employees don't want to go to work. They don't want to show up at the office.
So it's a beef. It's a proper beef.
Yeah, so like
it's on site.
That's the time. The Times said that, and then now now the Post is sending out their goss, and it was honestly,
it was directed.
I don't need to comment on the story because I'm way below the line of the people that should be commenting.
Yeah.
But they're really talking about our podcast.
It really could have said Mike Smeltz needs to stop in the headline.
How fucking hilarious would it be if it was like, and there's this podcast that keeps every open of every goddamn show.
Yeah.
If we got a cease and desist from the gray lady herself, fantastic.
It wouldn't stop us, Mike. It wouldn't stop. Anyways, what's up with those Nets, Mike?
It'd scare the shit out of me.
Would it? Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. A couple of things. Great show today. I'm so excited. And Brian, thank you for doing this.
We're already done.
Late of an hour.
Oh, great show. Thanks everybody.
We've got a couple of news nuggets and notes that I want to hit real quick. And after that, we're going to do one of my favorite things that we do. We do it at the beginning of the year, and we do it kind of like different tentpole moments. Nets player draft. Brian and I each draft from the Nets roster. And it's a good prism with which to think about, like, who do you really like on this roster? Who do you support? Who do you think will have a real impact?
Yeah.
Hilariously, I think one of my teams was like Kyrie, James Harden.
Yeah.
It was just like everyone who sucked.
I think that was my team, actually. I can't remember.
Well, you're definitely the James Harden guy. I think you picked him first.
We're not supposed to talk about him anymore, Mike. That's what we're not supposed to. I will say a little housekeeping note. Shout out to the Discord, discord.gg/glueguys. If you're not in there, you are screwing up. You're screwing up. Call your mom. Tell them you screwed up, because she needs to know, and everyone else, get in that Discord. We did a big fantasy draft, 18-person fantasy league, Mike. It went on more than a week. That's true. There was 7 hour.
Why do you bring this up in front of me?
There was
this
a 7
is so cruel.
Mike, you didn't join the league.
I was
I don't
told
know
there was
how how is it possible that you're the only person that couldn't get in? What does that mean?
Explain behind the curtain. I will allow you the first explanation. Okay, what was the process that you told me that I had to do, and was there a certain deadline?
I sent you at least 4 notifications with a link to say, "Hey, can you join this?" And you're like, "Yeah," and you made this gesture. You can't see. and then you just never showed up, and you put in one note in the Discord, and a bunch of people responded to you, and then you didn't respond to them, and then somebody else took your spot.
But I was told that the draft would begin on a Monday night. And
I was told that too, and they changed it. So that was on the fly. Anyways, enough housekeeping.
You know that it gives me more pleasure the fact that I've been in my head wronged than I'm actually being a part of the league, right?
Mike, I've known you for a long time. I think I'm giving you enough, to chew on for that victimization complex. I'm feeding into it a little bit, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Can I start with something, Brian?
Please.
So there's been a couple of stories recently. ESPN, it's one of their top headlines today on their website. The Athletic wrote about Ben Simmons and his comeback with the Nets, and it was just a news story. It's based off of quotes from practice. The headline itself, and I'll go to it on ESPN, is Nash: Simmons, quote, not going to be at his best yet. Okay, so it's fine. I read that. I read the story. It's just about, the Nets explaining that, hey, Ben Simmons, he's going to be uneven to start. He hasn't played basketball for a very long time, over 400 days. He's getting back in the flow of things. And not only that, he also had back surgery. So I think we all should have a level of patience with Ben Simmons. But there's some quote from Kevin Durant, who, I don't know if you know, he's still on the team, that he said about Ben Simmons, which he tends to lean on this trope a lot. And I just want to pick it ever so gently.
Okay.
I want to pick it very, very. My son had hand, foot, and mouth recently.
I actually, somebody else was just telling me about their kid having that. It must be going around, Mike.
It is like it's so. Let's not get into virology.
Yeah,
but it's going around.
Okay.
And his skin is peeling like a snake at this point.
Oh God.
And I just want to peel a little bit of that skin off here and talk about this.
That's great.
This is what Kevin Durant said. So the reporters were asking him, Kevin Durant, what he can do to help keep Simmons' offensive confidence up. Reading from the Nick Friedel story on ESPN.com. And again, a lot of the tone of Nash's comments were about, hey, it's going to take a while for Ben, and we need to help build up his confidence. This is what Kevin Durant said. Just trust in him, pass him the ball when he's open, tell him to be aggressive. I don't do too much. I'm not here babysitting anybody. Ben knows that it's time that he has to be aggressive to go be aggressive. Okay. Here's what I'll say about Kevin Durant. Love him dearly as a basketball player. This whole laissez-faire attitude with leading the team is mind-boggling to me on multiple levels. It's so I understand the message of it being like Kevin Durant saying, and I'm scratching for the YouTube audience can see me scratching.
Yeah, your forehead. You're rubbing it really. You might have
my supple eyebrows,
hand, foot, and mouth disease potentially.
Yeah, I just talked about that. And I'm infecting my own self. He leans on this idea that everyone's a professional, and I don't need to do anything extra. Kevin Durant, I don't need to tell these guys to do anything extra. When classically within sports, Kevin Durant knows more about me, but I'm just going to say this. Leadership does involve some level of motivation, some level of whether it's hand-holding or...
yeah, that kind of motivation
there's
is
some level
hand-holding.
Of bringing a guy along. Of if a guy needs the boost, if this guy's important, it's sort of the point guard mentality. Not that that's what Kevin Durant is, but hey, I'm going to get this guy's confidence up, right? I'm going to do things both through communication, through what I do on the court, through just within the more random moments of practice and stuff like that. I'm going to try to continually build this guy up. And Kevin Durant consistently is like, I am not here to babysit anyone.
Can I zag a little bit on you?
Zag
Can I zag? And it's not that I disagree with you. I just think it's
sounds like you are going to disagree. Please.
There'll be more more nuance really in this take. Just you wait. So I think.
So you're saying I'm broad. Okay.
I think you're representing one side of a leadership spectrum. And then there's this other sort of, they're both effective. One is a little bit more antisocial than the other. But if you look to the Kobe Bryants of the leadership world or the Michael Jordans of the leadership world, you find that those guys were certainly not the babysitting type, we could call it. And I would say I agree with you in general that I think that the laissez-faire attitude that we're exhibiting here is it's the least of both worlds, right? It's not hand-holding, and it's not trying to light a fire under the ass with alpha predator black mamba energy or whatever. It's somewhere in the middle of I don't actually care either way. You could, I don't have a style or an opinion, but it's erring more to the side of, this is a competitive environment and people are expected to have competitive natures at this level, and practices are going to be hard. And if you're not cut out for it, then boo-hoo, whatever. That's not my style of leadership, Mike. I think you know that. I think I'm incredibly sensitive at my heart. Michael, You're giving me a look like I'm not. You're hurting my feelings when you make that face.
I know. You're a sweetheart.
I am. And so it's not my style, but it is one way of doing things. So he's a little bit in the middle, and I agree with you that's not doing enough. But also, he's just not good on the mic. I mean, there's some guys who are just like, why are we expecting guys to have
podcast? Podcast.
Good
and
on
a media conglomerate. Which
Anthony
Anthony Puccio is now collecting a 401k.
Addendum.
He's the pooch.
Easy. Addendum.
Do you think they give out a 401k at the boardroom?
I won't speculate.
Do you think you have to wait a year?
I can't, and I won't.
Vision? Do you think they get vision benefits?
Who's to say, Mike? It could be.
Pooch likes to wear the glasses. He likes to rock.
Shout out
designer
to Pooch
shades
and his glasses.
Pooch, can you email us and let us know? Does Vision Medical 401k matching? I need to know. Yes.
I have no idea what I was going to say. I was just searching for it. It's gone. Well, it was something.
First, I understand everything you're saying. I will say
he's bad on the mic. Caveat, addendum.
I don't think he's bad on them.
In those contexts, he's cagey. He doesn't want to talk to the reporters.
He's KGKD. Here's the thing.
What
Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant were in fact terrible leaders.
What?
Terrible emotional leaders.
Count the rings, dog. What are we talking about here?
They were so great at basketball, so incredible on the court that they prevailed. But if you pre-Kobe passing away,
I don't know.
If you had heard a lot of the stories that were out about Kobe as a teammate, he was horrible.
Look, I don't think so. Here's what I'll say.
Jordan, did you watch this Jordan race?
I did.
Looks like not a good hang.
Toxic,
not a good leader.
Toxic work environment, right? I agree with you. Toxic work environment. However, championships contention all the time, always.
Because they are so great at basketball. Yeah. It's like David O. Russell as a director. Horrible work environment. Besides Amsterdam, usually great films. Apparently Amsterdam's a clunker. Do you know that he has a movie out and it sucks?
I don't know. I don't know anything about what you just talked about.
I know, right?
But
that's again from Bilga Ibiri. Yeah.
Shout out to Bilga. I think it's hard to draw the line as firm as you're drawing it. I think it's hard to.
It's a firm line.
Extricate.
It's a firm line.
I know you're unmoving in that.
Rock hard line over here, baby.
I'm trying to think if what other examples of disagreeable people have had lots of success. I'm sure there's plenty. But
Steve Jobs. Yeah. Being disagreeable doesn't mean that you're not successful. But I tend to believe that true leadership, is based upon the ability to uplift as opposed to downgrade. And Kevin Durant doesn't downgrade, right? I don't think he uplifts either. He has this sort of operating theory of himself, a modus operandi, that I'm going to do me. Everyone else should raise up to their level. He's the type of guy who, he's such a strong worker as a basketball player. He talks about it all the time, how he loves the game. We know that, if you did a match the meme to the player, which is a great game we could play, match the meme to a player, Kevin Durant is the hardworking meme, whatever meme would be the hard worker. No, people he loves ball. He'll never hold out from the Nets because he loves ball.
That's straight down the middle, unironic, hardworking meme. Just a guy with a plowshare. yeah. No, that's great.
He's the Amish of basketball.
Yeah.
So this kind of links all together with the fact when Kyrie, this different person, I understand, but when Kevin Durant had his trade request and whatever happened, and then Kyrie was asked during media day, "Hey Kai, did you talk to Kevin to try to tell him to come back?" And Kyrie was like, "No, we don't. I wouldn't do that. That was his business." And then Kevin Durant, before that, when he was asked, "Hey, would you get involved in Kyrie's extension talks?" He's like, "No. That's his money. That's his business. Even though I'm friends with him, I wouldn't get involved." I think maybe just a little more communication, a little more.
We get it. We do have to grease up the lines of communication. That's for sure. Get the Vaseline.
Don't be afraid to throw a compliment out there, Kevin.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid Don't be afraid, Kevin. Okay, it's not babysitting by. What essentially the reporters, again, to go back to the scene. So the reporters hear from Steve Nash. I think this is the order of operations. They hear from him at practice, and then they go talk to Kevin Durant. And Steve Nash says a bunch of things about how Ben Simmons, he's working his way back, We need to be there to support him. Steve Nash said literally the number one thing is support him, be there for him, give him belief. Okay, this is what Steve Nash says. Then they go to Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant says, hey, I'm not here to babysit anybody. Like, Ben knows if he's got to be. This is the other thing. He says Ben knows that if he's got a time to be aggressive, go be aggressive. And it's like, actually, the one thing Ben Simmons doesn't know is that. Like the one
that's true.
Key missing ingredient in Ben Simmons' brain, as much as I am enjoying the early returns, just like I like to watch him play basketball, is that he doesn't know how to do that. He is missing that gene in his body, and maybe it needs to be developed a little bit by someone like Kevin Durant.
I chalk it up to bad communication. I mean, I think it's not just bad communication internally; it's bad communication externally too. It's, for you, Mike, that'd be a softball, but that you'd absolutely tee off on.
Jared Dudley would have crushed that question.
That would be.
What would Jared Dudley have said?
He'd say he doesn't need our support, but we got his back anyways. That's
look at that. How easy was that? That was amazing. Bud Egan PR.
Still, my doors are open. So, but somehow, but yeah. So I just think I'd chalk it up to, I don't, we can. It's a good thing that you brought it up. I thought that was an excellent little headline. But dissecting KD, I think it's what he says to the media. It's a tricky business.
So let me ask you this: by you saying that, I'm not saying that you are saying this, but what I'm asking you is, do you think KD does something differently behind the scenes? Meaning, does he try to uplift Ben Simmons versus what he tells the media? What he's telling the media is, I'm not babysitting anyone. He literally says, I'm not babysitting anyone. But do you think behind the scenes he's doing a bit more than that? That there is a bit more uplifting?
I mean, do you want me to put him on my full Freudian psychoanalytical cap here? Because I can.
I mean, that's why you're on the pod.
I got it here. I mean, I think potentially in KD's world,
that is actually Freud's. For the YouTube audience, that is Freud's.
I think to KD's mind, somebody asking if I think the questions around confidence issues in general are uncomfortable. I think that would probably be seen as something that's you wouldn't want, if I was KD, I wouldn't want people talking about my confidence, right? I think he probably has a pretty strong allergy to questions about that. And so I think he's uniquely uncomfortable answering that on behalf of somebody else. And so it's like, hey, I don't know. I don't deal in that. I don't traffic in people's, emotional well-being. That's really not my skill. And so whatever, and maybe that came out clumsily that he's not going to babysit him. But, I think to attribute it any deeper meaning of I don't care about Ben Simmons is probably not. I'm sure he's going to be friendly enough with Ben Simmons.
Let me ask you this. Okay, I'm going to do this quickly because I do want to get to our draft. We'll take, do this and then take a break, do draft. Draymond Green punched Jordan Poole.
I would even say gave him a slobber knocker. Maybe I wouldn't say that.
Yeah, and I will say, talk about uplifting someone. Punching someone in the face, not
uplifting.
Literally, I guess you are lifting them up.
Just ever so briefly.
Off the ground.
And then we shouldn't joke. People got hurt.
He's fine. Jordan Poole.
Mike, decorum. Mike.
It's just a punch. Everyone.
Michael, decorum, okay?
Apologies.
Apologize.
Apologize to the audience. Employees of the New York Times. We're employees of the Athletics, so we can do what we want. I urge decorum. Urge it. So, Draymond Green. After that happened, after the video came out, Zach Lowe and Bill Simmons, like everyone else in NBA media, did a podcast about Draymond Green. What's going to happen next? If people don't know, Draymond has a player option at the end of this year, but he could leave as a free agent. It's a big question for what the Warriors are going to do. Are they going to pay Draymond? Because they're already paying Steph. There's the idea that they're not going to depart with Clay. Clay is too important to the fabric of the team in that way. Do you up Draymond? Draymond's not going to be giving a discount to the Warriors, and Jordan Poole, the guy he punched, is another guy who's expecting a contract, and apparently the contract is going to be in the Tyler Hero range, which is I don't know, what was it, 25 a year, something quite large and healthy like that, and mazel tov to Mr. Poole and Mr. Hero. I say all this to say real quick, again, not going to focus on it, that if Draymond has another incident this year, the Warriors will trade him. I think he's on a no-strike policy after you assault your teammate in the way that he did, particularly with the video coming out. The public pressure of that will be, I don't know if it'll be overwhelming, but it'll be a factor. I think it is a possibility that Nets fans have to think about on their own. I believe Kevin Durant would want Draymond Green.
Do you? What are you basing that on?
Well, I know that the Draymond was a big factor in Durant leaving Golden State, but whilst in Golden State, I mean, Draymond was the guy that recruited Kevin to Golden State. Draymond and Kevin are, at least at the time, it was viewed that they were the closer of the two compared to like Clay and Steph were one friend group. They were Rachel and Monica, and Kevin and Draymond were Joey and Chandler.
Right.
And Steve Kerr was Ross. Classic Ross.
Perfect. Who's Phoebe?
Bob Myers. Bob Myers. Because he cries all the time. As does Phoebe. Sick burn, Bob Myers. You successful son of a bitch. And so I think it's a very distinct possibility that if like Draymond has another thing, whatever it may be, and the Warriors saying, okay, Draymond has been banished from the team. We are going to get rid of him this season. He's too much of a distraction. Again, he is an expiring contract. That Kevin Durant would be one of the people that would be like, I'm trying to win a championship here in Brooklyn. I know Draymond is a championship contributor. What would that trade look like, you may ask? So this is the equation that people have to figure out in their head before we get to our own draft. It would be the platter of role players. It would be like the Joe Harris, Seth Curry, combining the Curry brothers, and Nick Claxton at whatever point you're allowed to trade him. I think that's like in January or something. Or it'd be Ben Simmons. I guess you can't even trade Ben Simmons to the Warriors because of the Andrew Wiggins thing, right?
Yep.
So really it would just be the platter of role players for Draymond. But would you want to have Draymond and Ben Simmons? I'm just saying people need to think about it because here's the factor. Whatever the Nets are going to be this season, even though we may believe that Kevin Durant maybe doesn't have as much power as he did on some level, I don't know if we even agree with that. Kevin Durant going to Marks Inside and saying, we need Draymond is a powerful moment that the franchise will have to figure out. And like, do the Nets do that? Is it, I don't know. I'm just saying, think about Draymond Green.
Food for thought.
What would he look like in black and white?
Yeah.
Well, let's do this. Quick break. Coming back. Hey, Nets draft. And we're back. Brian.
Michael.
We don't have theme music for this, but this is one of my favorite things to do.
You do
we
love
have
this. Yeah.
Our Nets roster draft. This will be, Brian, you have been designated the first pick already.
Really?
It is a snake draft. We each pick. So you pick, and then I pick two, and then you pick two, and then I pick two.
Yeah. With any big three, this is firm advantage in my corner. But anyways, go ahead.
You think? But your first pick.
I get first.
You only get one of the big three. Then I get the two dysfunctional
Oh, it's a snake.
guys.
Oh, it's like that. It's two. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah, but you still get
Yeah.
probably Kevin Durant if that's what you want.
Who knows? Find out next on the glue. Anyways, go ahead.
It's a great thought experiment because it really signifies who we think matters on this team. And it's partially present day value plus future day value. Like it's like who are your babies? Mm-hmm. What islands are you living on and who are your babies?
Okay.
And I've got a lot of dino babies here.
Dino babies.
Did you remember that show Dinosaurs? I think it was, and they were like animatronic.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay, you have the first pick.
I want to drag this
Everyone is
out
on the board.
I want to drag
Everyone
this out.
from Ben Simmons and Yuta Watanabe.
I'm going to go with Kevin Durant for my number one pick.
Son of a bitch.
I'm going to do it. I'm
was
going
gonna
to
get
pull the
left there.
trigger.
Okay, tell me why you like Kevin Durant more than Ben Simmons or Kyrie.
Yeah, I think Kevin Durant is a really good basketball player, Mike. I still think he's truly a top flight, top tier NBA talent. Don't see him dropping off. In fact, I see him adapting. I think we're at like the perfect time in his arc. And, I've been holding on to this take, but the playmaking stuff has just been really, I think that's truly the next part of his growth. And yeah, obviously Kevin Durant, the best.
Yeah, easy. So I'll go. I don't want to be cute about it. Kyrie and Ben Simmons.
Don't be cute.
If I'm really doing a real order, Ben Simmons would be above Kyrie. I'm just so excited. I mean, it's
Really?
it's the new toy theorem of like, hey, I'm just excited to watch Ben Simmons. I'll feel differently in February, but right now I'm just so excited to see. I mean, he's an actual defender. He is exciting on the defensive end, which is so rare for the Nets to have a player who's exciting on the defensive end. He is so odd on the offensive side of the floor. I mean, we talk about the aggressiveness. I mean, even in the preseason, these games, he's dribbling the ball up to the free throw line, and there's not a glint in his eye that he's going to shoot.
Yeah.
And the defender doesn't think he's going to shoot. No one on the floor thinks Ben Simmons is going to shoot. Ben Simmons is allowed to get to places on the floor that no one else is, but it just doesn't. There's not, like with Giannis. I mean, there were times when Simmons was compared to Giannis. Giannis, from when he's like 4 feet out from the 3-point line, it's like, holy shit, he's going to drive and try to dunk on us. Mm-hmm. Where Ben Simmons can get like pretty close to the hoop, and if the defender's just in front of him, the defender's like, I'm pretty good.
Yeah,
I'm okay. But he is a great passer, a great ball handler. He's a big dude, as I've analyzed before. Mm-hmm. I'm really excited for him. And Kyrie, okay, let me ask you this. Pie chart possibilities, okay? Is this a real chip on the shoulder season? How much of a percentage do you think it's real that Kyrie could be like, screw you all. I'm putting up the fat 27 6-4 or whatever the percent. It doesn't matter. But like I am reintroducing myself as one of the best guards in the NBA. Do you think that's a realistic possibility?
Beyond realistic, I think that's fairly likely. Not like reinventing, but I mean those are numbers that he basically had last year. I mean, what to expect a 1 point markup is crazy. I don't know. That seems pretty likely to me.
The only thing I'll say about last year is that he was playing like once every 2 weeks, and then he was fresh.
Okay.
He was fresh as a daisy coming in.
Which,
and also, I mean, he wasn't weighed down by the COVID vaccine. He was lighter than the other players because he had, vaccine.
Luciferin. No Luciferin.
You have 2 picks now. On the board is everyone but Kevin Durant, Kyrie, and Ben Simmons. You've started with Kevin Durant. Who will be your second and third picks?
This gets weird, actually. Unexpectedly weird, unexpectedly quickly.
Which is a little concerning about the roster, though. I do like a lot. Yeah. Like a lot of these guys are similar.
It's pretty. There's tiers, right? So we're at a sort of an obvious tier here. I'm going to go Seth Curry, I think, with my next pick.
Okay, very interesting. Can I tell you something that happened on Twitter?
Okay.
Which is so totally stupid, but
yeah.
There was a story on Heavy.com from Sean Devaney, I think is the writer's name.
Yeah.
Where he was quoting an unnamed Western Conference executive about who may be available to be traded. And he was linking Mo Bamba to the Nets. Now, I love myself some Mo Bamba.
Do you?
He's super long and can shoot threes.
I've listened to enough weirdly Orlando people, and there's 2 camps on Mo Bamba. I'll say that. He's one of those 2 camps kind of guys.
Yeah. Yeah, there's the boys sleepaway camp and there's the girls sleepaway camp. I understand. Mo Bamba. Mm-hmm. And in this Western Conference executive, this unnamed Western Conference executive said a trade that could work would be like Seth Curry and Cam Thomas for Mo Bamba. And I tweeted out, this is crazy. Seth Curry has more trade value than Mo Bamba because no one was desperately lusting after Mo Bamba to such a degree.
Yeah.
And people were like, you're crazy, Mike. You're crazy.
Wait, people would trade Seth Curry and Cam Thomas for Mo Bamba?
People were thinking that Mo Bamba had so much more value than Seth Curry. I think Seth Curry is like, outside of the big 3, is the best trade piece the Nets have because his contract is so low. He's been on so many contenders. It's pretty easy to fit him into any team because he has been on so many teams and been very good. Like, if the Nets wanted to pull the trigger on a Seth Curry trade, they're going to get, really the thing to do is to, like, if the Nets are tanking, you trade Seth Curry for a first-round pick to some team or whatever.
Why is it that everybody on Twitter is so bad at like, not bad? Well, yeah, bad people.
Why are they bad people?
Yeah. Bad people. No, shout out to the Twitter. I follow us at BK Glue Guys for.
Well, it's like we have such a short memory. Like, I know that Seth Curry was hurt during the playoffs, so he wasn't as impressive. But also, so there's not that much difference between him and Joe Harris and Patty Mills in terms of shooting necessarily. They're all fantastic elite shooters.
Yeah.
I like what Seth Curry does because he's more of a ball handler, passer, not a good defender. That's fine. I think you have to grapple with that. But I was going to ask you this question. I'm going to save it for burning questions. But I have a lot of faith in Seth Curry, and I like this pick for you a lot.
Thank you. I love that. You may not, I can't tell if you're going to like this one or not, but it may be the safe pick or it might not. I can't tell. Well, here's another question. Are we conceiving this as just like the best players in a row, or are we actually kind of trying to piece together an actual 5 that could play together?
Best players, yeah. Don't worry about
Doesn't really change my pick, actually, but going forward it might. I guess I'm going to go Nick Claxton here, I guess. And that's
okay. Talk about it.
So my thinking is like I think the next best player is probably Joe Harris, like in practical terms. That being said, Mike, we already have a little ankle soreness here. I mean, I'm trying to think about our team.
No, they said his foot's hurt, not his ankle. It's a totally different
foot soreness. Yeah. I'm trying to think about these tentpole moments. Like I expect we're going to be checking this graph here in a couple of months, and if we're still dealing with Joe Harris sitting here and there and various forms of soreness, hand, foot, and mouth disease, whatever it is. I'll feel. I don't actually know why, because Nick Claxton has missed a fair share of games in his own right. I do feel like this is more of the Nick Claxton upward arc. I know we've said that every year. I know we always do this, and this is every year. We truly do it every year.
Because we also do a Georgia Bulldogs podcast.
Yeah,
just basketball. And we just said that there. Exactly.
True.
And that was the only time it was ever true, to be honest.
Yeah. But early returns in preseason. He's still Nick Claxton, and there's still the
beefier,
slightly beefier, and there's still the looming threat of him having a. I think the expectation of him having like a true breakout year is probably that ship may have sailed, but breakout in the sense that like we can get to, I don't know, somewhere in the Clint Capella subcategory, somewhere in that milieu.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think his breakout is just consistency.
Yeah.
It's like, can you rely on him for 25 minutes a game for most of a season? And that would be a massive breakout because if people remember, he started the year last year on the Harden KD team. Obviously, Kyrie wasn't there.
And famously ran only pick and roll with Claxton and Harden. And it looked okay.
And it felt like, oh, they're going to develop something, blah, blah, blah. And then obviously no development happened. I think it's an interesting pick because I will take Joe Harris. Mm-hmm. But Nick Claxton has, in the range of outcomes, like ultimately, is Joe Harris going to get better? No. It's probably likely he's going to be a little bit worse. After his foot soreness, I'm a little worried about
I can tell you're concerned.
I mean, none of our guys are healthy. If you think about what we took, like Seth Curry's hurt right now. We don't know if he's going to even start the season. I mean, he should be close. Ben Simmons just came back from his back injury. Joe Harris, he must have slipped on some snow. He found some snow in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And because he famously busted his ankle.
only famous because you have made it. So,
is that why the Nets wouldn't give us Joe Harris? Because they heard our podcast. That would make a lot more sense than them just being.
Come on, all right, keep it moving.
You've aired bad strategy.
Okay.
And if you want to know the details, go on our Discord. I talked about it on our Discord. I didn't say it on the show, but I talked about it on the Discord.
Scorched
you can find
earth.
it on the Discord.
Madman.
I'm going to go Joe Harris here, but I like your Claxton pick if you're going for upside because the best version of Claxton is one of the best switching centers in the NBA and a dunk fest. The best version of Joe Harris is what we've seen.
Yeah.
One of the best three-point shooters in the NBA, but like there's some games where you don't know that he exists.
Yeah.
But I support
or you
Joe
do
Harris.
you do know that he exists, and what you're seeing is something you wish wasn't what you're seeing. Like you see, like he's played very badly, conspicuously badly at times.
Yeah, he has a bright spotlight on him when he plays bad because he's usually wide open from three. Yeah. So you have, just to reset the board after 3 rounds, Kevin Durant, Seth Curry, Nick Claxton. I have Kyrie, Ben Simmons, Joe Harris. My next pick. So to me, there are really only 2 guys that you could debate. I think it's pretty easy. It's Royce O'Neal for me. Royce O'Neal may be starting for this team because of the massive amount of injuries already that the team's experiencing. I gotta say, I'm excited to have a guy who's allegedly a defender, though. At times he's listed at 6'4". I think on Basketball Reference, Royce O'Neal's 6'4", which is a wee bit concerning that he's supposed to be like our defender wing bro who can optionality down to he's listed as 6'4", down to power forward.
Doesn't he look bigger than 6'4" though? I feel like there's something going on there. Something fugazi.
I mean, he's 226 listed on Basketball Reference, so he's 6'4", 220. That is a healthy sized human, but he's not really a power forward. Like he's not like Markieff Morris, though probably not that much tall. Well, he's 6'9".
Yeah, he's way taller, right?
Way taller. Like Markieff can play center, and Steve Nash has talked about him being a center for the Nets. But Royce O'Neal he's the exact type of player this team needed. My question is he better than Bruce Brown? I think he's a more consistent shooter. Like Bruce had an amazing stretch at the end of the year to raise his 3-point percentage, but it was always a very like slow arcing shot that you had no clue if that was going to go in.
Yeah. I mean, drawing comparisons to Bruce Brown is just it's a fool's errand, Mike, because there's just nobody quite like him, and he still has our hearts, really, truly.
Yeah, Matt Brooks retweeted a video of some Denver Nuggets film guy was like talking about Bruce Brown and how amazing he is going to be for the Nuggets.
I can't watch that. I can't even talk about that, Mike. Get out of here.
Okay, so Kyrie, I take Royce O'Neal. Do you think that was a no-brainer pick?
I think that's the right pick. I'll say that. Because my pick is going to be Patty Mills, and I could see, I could see a season where Royce, I don't know, I don't think he'll ever fall out of favor. Would just have one of those James Johnson-ass years,
Do you think there's going to be a Patty Assance?
I think he'll be the same dude,
Mills Lennial.
I mean, he was, again, we've talked about it a million times, relied on so heavily for so much of last season to a fault. I think we all agree. And, fingers crossed, prayers up. Everyone can come in and do work and then, relieve some of the load that he's been carrying. And just be back to, the Patty that we all were hoping to see, just to spark off the bench. It's not really playmaker, kind of more, just kind of microwave offensive player with a heart of gold. And, I want him on my team, okay? I want him on my damn team.
Yeah. We need Patty Mills to be more like Josh Gad as Olaf in Frozen 1, not like Josh Gad, Olaf in Frozen 2.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually never saw Frozen 2. But I think you don't want Patty Mills to be a feature player on any level. You want him kind of popping into these big moments and just being a momentary star. He was way too involved last year. Yeah. And he had to be way too involved. Okay, so you have Patty Mills. Who do you want next? We're getting down.
Yeah, this is where it gets a little messy. And I don't know if I'm huffing copium here. I could be, but I think TJ Warren is my pick. I don't know if that's a crazy one.
Do you know that TJ Warren's definitely not playing until at earliest November?
Yeah, that's fine. That's 3 weeks from now.
At earliest. It's okay. Yeah, that's fine.
It's 3 weeks.
I'm just giving you information. I'm not judging you. I'm trying to communicate with you.
Well, these lines are not greasy, okay? I'm not here to babysit you. But you didn't like that. You didn't like my babysitter, Jet. You were checking your phone right at the time I made.
My mom emailed me because this is just going real behind the curtain. It's Prime Day Early Access on Amazon. I sent them a gift idea for the boys, and it's like kind of a big gift. And I think my stepdad and my mom both just ordered it.
Yeah.
And I'm already thinking like, shit, I'm going to have to return.
A Yeti cooler, 2 Yeti coolers for the kids. My God. So I've picked TJ Warren here because I'm high on him, despite the concerns that he might not be back till November, which is...
May never play. Yeah.
Get out of here and never play. So what, you go Markieff Morris? You go Markieff Morris over...
No, it's the Nets. No, you picked another high ceiling. For sure. I'm going
all in.
Could actually be the 4th best player on this team.
That's what I'm saying.
He could be the 4th best player on this team if he is still. It's been a long time. TJ Warren played 4 games in the 2020-2021 season. He did not play at all last season. Now, last season I think there was also some dispute with the franchise on some level.
Yeah.
But so it's been a minute since our guy. TJ Warren was last relevant in the bubble. That was the last time he was relevant. You know how long the bubble was?
Not that long ago, Mike. Not by my standards. Here's my thinking. I'm not going to look back on this and kick myself for not picking Markieff Morris. Okay, that's my thinking. Whereas there is a chance I could kick myself for not picking TJ Warren. All right.
Can I ask you something about Bronny James?
Sure.
Travis Scott showed up to Bronny James's 18th birthday.
Okay.
What did you do for your 18th birthday?
That's a good question. I don't know. Probably threw a rager, and was valedictorian or something. I don't know. What'd you do?
Well, I think Bronny's been given a great life, and I'm happy for him. And it must be amazing if Travis Scott show up to your 18th birthday. I feel like 18th birthday should be the Natty Light hiding in someone's basement, chugging vodka.
Yeah.
Like, that's what you should do when you're 18. Like,
You're saying you feel bad for him. You feel like he's missing out. That's what you're trying to say.
like, does he have the joy of being in someone's basement drinking Natty Light? And
Probably
like,
not.
I'm sure, yeah, I know he could be on. His dad's a billionaire. And
He might
one of
have
the
bigger
greatest players of all time.
aspirations, though, than we did at that age.
I don't think so. I don't think so. Okay, so you have TJ Warren. Who is left on the board? Cam Thomas, David Duke Jr., Kessler Edwards, Day'Ron Sharpe, Markieff Morris, Edmund Sumner, and Yuta Watanabe. Lordy Lord. I mean, I guess I'm going to take... This is so freaking lame. I'm going to take Day'Ron and Markieff. I'm just going for, like, pure minutes basis here. Day'Ron is good.
Wow, really shoring up the front court here.
Is he going to play, like, a lot?
You went
do you think?
Day'Ron here. I'm impressed. I try not to come down hard on preseason and stuff. I'm concerned about Day'Ron. I'm concerned about our front court more generally if we have to rely on Day'Ron for meaningful minutes, which it appears we will.
He's a guy who, whenever he plays, he gets a ton of rebounds, and he plays with energy, and there's value in that. I don't know if the athleticism and the length are. I mean, I know the length isn't. I don't know if the athleticism. Oh, thanks, Brian. Brian is clearing up the Google Doc.
Just tidying up just a little bit.
So I think Day'Ron, though, has the potential to be like. I think there's an opportunity to where it's like Day'Ron Sharpe's actually better than Nick Claxton. I think that's available. So I'm going to grab that availability and that interest. And then Markieff is like, he's going to play. He's going to be he's been a very good player of his career. He's very crusty. He's a crusty crab, but he's already shown the sort of crafty bulldogness of James Johnson for this season, except he's been a better player than James Johnson has over their careers. Easy grab, because what's left on the board is a potpourri of unfilled potential.
My issue with Day'Ron is I'm starting to lose faith in the body control. Just every time I see him, he just looks slightly out of control, just not super aware of his spacing where he should be. There's just not a whole lot of high level, where should I be, when, and why kind of thinking going on with Day'Ron at the moment.
And that's a hard thing if you're the center who has no real skills offensively. You have to be kind of like Nick Claxton, where at least then you're an athletic freak. Where Day'Ron, I think he's got a lot of room to grow. He's super young. He was on an amazing high school team. He was on a completely messed up North Carolina team where he was like the best player by far. He does produce when he's given the time. Like, his per minute rebounding is always fantastic. So it's there. And Markieff is Markieff. Yeah. I think we're fine with that.
I'm gonna go Cam Thomas next. Still,
I don't think you feel good about that.
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of conflict from here on, which is interesting. But yeah, so for me, Cam Thomas is next, and I'll click and drag him here just because I like to see it.
Are we too hard on Cam Thomas?
I think we probably are. Like, there's some guy in the YouTube comments the other day, and he was like, actually, it's funny because he was like, look, led the league, the summer league in scoring in college, and I went back and looked at who led the league in score, like who won scoring titles in college, and there are but a very few names you'll recognize on that list. Like, and some of them are like Jimmer Fredette or Doug McDermott.
It's like guys who went to Oakland.
Yeah,
and Oakland is in actually Michigan. It's not in.
Oakland. So scoring titles, they mean something because there's also like a lot of good names on there, but they don't mean everything. That being said, it still remains to be seen if Cam can translate that to the professional level. Again, very young. We got lots of time with them. So, and a ceiling that's still sky high. I'm bidding on ceilings in my draft. I'm realizing. Speaking of which, I'm going to go Yuta Watanabe here.
Okay, that's a mistake. That's a harsh mistake.
I don't think. I think you're gonna eat crow on this one, Mike. Because here's the thing: Daron Sharp is coming off the bench, and I think there's going to be a lot of times where having watched just this first 2 preseason games, Yuta Watanabe is potentially a significantly better rim protector than Daron already. And that's saying something because he's significantly smaller and just a totally different kind of player. But I think if Daron, I think there's enough weaknesses in Daron's game where it might, and again, I'm using asterisks on all of this stuff because we're super down far in the rotation here. It could be possible that Yuta plays meaningful minutes, especially in the early going before trade season really kicks off, where we're actually like, oh God, we need some real answers for the front court.
Yeah, I mean, I love Yuta. I mean,
I like how you said it right the first time and then corrected yourself with a hard D. Yuta.
Yuta. Yeah. Yuta, man. I support your picks. Cam Thomas, I do think we are just way too harsh on. Like, I'm looking at his game logs, and the whole thing about him is that if you actually watch the games, there's so many impressive moments, but there's also so much chucking that it's hard to differentiate. Like, he's just sort of like gaming the system. He's like the guy who's cheating at chess. You know, the 20-year-old who's cheating at chess because he has like a buzzer up his butt.
Yeah.
He's like cheating the system. Cam had 10 games of 20 or more points last season. That's not insignificant. He had a 30-point game against the Jazz on February 4th, which is right about the time when this team really sucked. They actually lost that game by 23 points, so it makes sense that would be a game he did really well. I just can't. There's a lot I like about Cam, but there's also like his. What's the version of the hexagonal chart where it's like your powers, like Pokemon chart, where it's like he has strength, defense, speed. Cam's like shot making is very high peak, and then his playmaking in terms of for everyone else it's a black hole. Like, I was reading about black hole theory, quantum physics.
Yeah,
Einstein.
Sure.
In
what book?
Didn't get right. The New York Times. It was it's a website.
Sounds good.
It's also a newspaper, but and Cam is such a black hole when it comes to that version of it. But I think that was a good value play by you. And
we had a good distinction that also got picked up on in the YouTube chat. Shout out to and also smash the follow, smash the subscribe, hammerjack the leg. Somebody was saying like they were rafflecoptering at us because we were calling Cam Thomas a bad shot maker, but a good shot creator. I think that's I think it's a proper distinction because if you look at his field goal percentage and all those the effective field goal percentage and all that good stuff, it's not great, especially if you take out the free throws, which he is good at. And that's why it actually goes into it. Like, it's the creation of the shot, it's not the making of it. Hence all the free throws.
Yeah, I mean, if he that's the whole thing. Like, we even talked about before last year, before the season even began, off of watching him from Summer League, it was like, if he could just round his game to where he could stand in the corner and accept a pass and just shoot a three, that he would be an amazing three-point shooter off of catch and shoot if he could round his game off of that based on his free throw percentage, which is fantastic. But he's not that type of guy. It's really hard to change your behavior in that way if you've been a guy who probably his entire career, since the moment he was 4 years old.
Yeah. Mike, we're getting a little. We should
long in the tooth.
Yeah, let's
okay,
get
real quick.
Yeah.
So Yuta, I like Yuta. I'm gonna go. I'll let you finish up. So this is interesting. Kessler Edwards, I'm super pumped he fell to me because I think there's a version of Kessler that he's pretty fun, athletic shooter. I'm pumped about that. So it comes down to Edmund.
The big decision.
And David Duke Jr.
I'm excited for you to completely mess this up.
Can I tell you something?
Yeah. I
think, again, this is going to step on big questions. I'm quite high on David Duke Jr.
There it is.
But if I'm going percentages,
you screwed up. You botched
Mr.
it.
Sumner is the guy you go with.
No, you made the right choice. Sumner,
Because he's
Ted.
playing like backup point guard, it seems like.
Ted
he is the backup point guard.
won my heart in 2 games of preseason basketball. That's all it took. And now he's in there. And I can't get him out, Mike.
He's a 6'5" point guard on this team. Springy, very like skinny Dinwiddie vibes.
And can I say something a little ballsy, Mike? Okay, he's got a pair.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. And I like David Duke Jr. So it's a win-win for me. Okay, and
really like David Duke
we don't really talk about him enough. He's truly the redheaded stepchild of this podcast and the team, in many ways, on a truly a team that's rebuilding. He would play a lot. Maybe break into a real rotation, play a lot of minutes, and have an opportunity. Unfortunately, that's just not going to be the case with David Duke Jr. on this team. I just don't. There's just so many guys in his position ahead of him. So what do you do with that?
He would be an amazing Thunder.
Exactly.
Like he'd be the guy who Zach Lowe would be writing about on the Thunder. Like if he played 20 minutes a game, and you'd be like, "Oh, this guy can do a lot of the things for you," but he's not going to do that for this team.
It's a crying shame, Mike. You know what else is a crying shame? It's the end of the show. We got to go.
Hey, come on. But what a great show it was.
And we're going to come back to this. We're going to come back to this chart here, Mike, in a couple months.
Oh yeah.
And you're going to absolutely
I'm gonna screenshot
eat
it.
a plate of Golden Crow live on YouTube when Yuta takes off. Okay?
What are we, the Try Guys? Come on. I don't know if you know that.
I know that I've like needed to follow whatever that controversy is, and I've just like been like, didn't do it. Don't know. Have no idea.
Yeah.
It's
Anyways,
bliss.
thank you for listening. Go on Apple Podcasts. Give us a rate or review. Spotify. Hey,
go on last.fm or Bandcamp and listen to our podcast there. Just kidding. Those are the 2 places you can't find us, but everywhere else.
Check it. YouTube, smash the subscribe. Discord. Get in the Discord again. If you want to learn
Discord.
about how angry I am about the Nets PR, it's right there. It's in
Right
there.
Bye, everybody.
Were you upset that I did that, Brian?
No,
Were you okay?
I accept you, Mike.